Hi guys, welcome to another video. Hope you're all keeping well. Now for this video, I'd like to review the 4K of the second sight release of well, it's actually one of my all-time favourites horror movies, and definitely in my top 10 of the greatest horror movies ever. Directed by Toby Hooper, and that movie is called The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original 1974 classic. Okay then guys, so I watched this the other night, and all my days was I blown away by the picture quality of this transfer. This is definitely the best version of this classic movie I've ever seen in my whole life. Oh yeah, beautiful colour and very lovely cinematography, and especially the part where the girl, you know, the iconic shot of the girl walking towards the house in the red shorts. Yeah, as I say, lovely cinematography on this release by Second Sight, and it's packed with a wealth of special features, guys. Yeah, just look at all those special features there. Yeah, I watched the new documentary the other night, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's quite lengthy, but oh yeah, fantastic. Yeah, really analysed the movie and that, interviews with different people and that. So yeah, as I say, this is the best release of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre I have ever had. I've owned this movie in many forms over the years, like in, you know, VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, but this, as I say, this has got to be the best version I've ever owned. Yeah. Okay then guys, so I'm just going to give me thoughts now on the movie as a whole. So yeah, as I say, absolute classic, definitely in my top 10 of all-time greatest horror movies ever made. And what I think what makes this movie particularly frightening is the sheer ordinariness of the narrative. You know, I mean, you know, you quite easily gets, you know, these like dysfunctional families, like somewhere in you know, in the wilds of America, like where you know, it's deserted and that, you know, and there's all these little pockets of like pockets of people like living in these like secluded houses and that. So this is the sort of thing that could very well happen. You know, what happened with, you know, with the Sawyer family in this, running, you know, wreaking havoc, you know, on these innocent travelers, you know, these young people. But yeah, that's what makes it so frightening, guys. You know, the sheer realism of it, you know. And Leatherface is such an iconic villain, you know, he really is. Just show you the inside, guys. Yeah, yeah, one of the most iconic villains ever created, you know, for the horror genre. Right up there with Frankenstein, Dracula, the Wolfman, you know, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Jason, yeah. And you can guarantee whenever you go to a horror convention, you're gonna see somebody more often than not dressed as Leatherface, yeah. But oh yeah, fantastic movie, yeah. And I just love everything about this movie, guys. Although the title can be a little bit a little bit misleading to some people who might think it's all about people getting sort of like, you know, slaughtered one after the other by this maniac with the chainsaw. There's very little actual chainsaw killings in it, but I think that's what makes it all the more disturbing and frightening. That, you know, the horror's very well spaced out, you know, and oh, what can I say about the you know, the final girl, you know, oh, she was fantastic, you know, the actress who played her, you know, Madeline Burns, yeah, especially those close-ups of her where she's screaming and screaming and screaming and screaming, and you get the camera zooming in on her eyes, the sheer terror, you know, exuding from those eyes. It's one of the most iconic scenes in horror movie history, where all the Sawyer family are sitting around a dinner table, you know, tormenting and that, you know, they're all wacky and that, you know, it's obvious they're all wacky, the kook, Leatherface and that, you know, and the other ones in the room and that, and then Grandpa's corpse and that, that's half, well, well, you could, I suppose you could say he's half dead, you know, and that hammer scene, guys, it always gets me, it always makes me wince where they hold her down and that, you know, and you know, they put the hammer in Grandpa's hand, and he keeps missing and missing and missing and missing. Oh, and you know, where it connects and that, you know, momentarily. Oh yeah, one of the most shocking. I can see, guys, at the time why this movie was, you know, frowned upon by a lot of people and that, you know, and sort of like just like The Exorcist tried to ban it and that, you know. But oh yeah, one of the horror classics, the true horror classics, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I've watched all the subsequent sequels since this movie, and I've got to say, this is the best one. You know, this stands head and shoulders above all of them, guys. It really does, you know. It's an absolute horror classic, you know. I can put this one on and watch it any time at all, you know, and very well done and that, from the very first appearance of Leatherface and that, you know. And but as I say, getting back to the other ones I've watched after this, they haven't really impressed me, really. I hated the sequel, the direct sequel to this. They put too much bloody comedy in it. They completely ruined it. You know, they started off with a classic and that, and it went right downhill. putting, you know, unnecessary humour in, you know, and they made clowns of the Sawyer family, if you ask me, in that sequel. But moving on, I didn't like the Leatherface one. I think it was the third one. Didn't like that one. I didn't mind the remake with the sheriff in. You know, that was very good, and the one after the remake. I didn't like the Leatherface one that was made a couple of years ago. That was boring. And I believe they just made one now for is it Netflix? So I'm going to check that out. But this is the best one, guys, in my opinion. The original 1974 classic, you know, all good actors in it and that, you know, and I love the setting. I love the fact that, like, you know, this you know, group of young people, they're basically trapped in the middle of nowhere, you know, and at the complete and utter mercy of the Sawyer family, you know, and oh yeah, and the part where he puts her up on Misuk. Oh my days, yeah, again, one of the most shocking, unnerving scenes in horror movie history, yeah, and then, of course, like, you know, the guy, Franklin, in the wheelchair and that, you know, you feel a bit sorry for him, because they leave him outside, don't they, while they're sort of, like, exploring the house, but yeah, so many iconic moments in this movie, guys, yeah, I'd rate this right up there with all the Hammer classics, all the Universal classics, all the Amicus classics. This is a definite, if you haven't seen this movie, guys, and, you know, if you're a horror fan, you've got to check this out. You've got to, you know, it's just a classic movie, you know, from start to finish, you know, and as I say, thoroughly enjoyed it, and this is a beautiful transfer. I highly recommend that you get this. If you can't get the box, that limited edition, what I was after, get this one, the standard edition, you know. They've done a real good job, and as I say, all these juicy extras and that, you know, and loads of commentary as well. Interview with Toby Hooper, oh, fantastic, yeah. So there you go, there's all special features again, guys, if you want to freeze your cameras and take all those in, guys. Fantastic, yeah. So I'll definitely be watching this again soon with the commentary. Yeah. Oh, but yeah, it's such a memorable, gripping movie, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I remember when I first got my first VHS video recorder in 1986, and this was one of the first movies I managed to get on VHS, guys, you know, and oh yeah, fantastic. I'm completely blown away. And as I say, a real tour de force of horror, you know, as I say, it stands head and shoulders above all the other Texas Chainsaw Massacre spin-offs, yeah. And there's only one Leatherface, and that's Gunnar Hansen for me in this movie. He does a fantastic job, you know. And he's got like a kind of, as well as sort of like being a vicious killer, he's got, in a way, he's got like a kind of pathetic streak about him, because he's sort of like, he seems to be like, you know, is the cook bullies him and that, you know. And he seems to be want to be a kind of like a transgender. I suppose you could say this is an early sort of like forerunner of the transgender subject and that, you know, because he wants to be a woman. Seems to be he wants to be a woman, half man, half woman, and that. And he has this mask on and that, you know. And of course, like if you guys most probably know, this is loosely based on the Ed Gein, you know, the true crime case of Ed Gein. You know, who's been in many of his case has been well documented over the years, and also Psycho was supposed to be a spin-off from the Ed Gein story, and that, oh yeah, one of the worst killers in American history, Ed Gein. I won't go on too much about him. I just, you know, if you want to check him out on YouTube and that, you know, if you're not familiar with the case of Ed Gein, oh yeah, he was a real vicious killer and that, you know, he really was, yeah. But as I say, with the, you know, so like the masks and that, you know, they're making the masks out of human flesh and that. It's all sort of like loosely connected to the Ed Gein story, yeah. But oh yeah, Toby Hooper. This is my all-time favourite Toby Hooper movie, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it all really made up with this, guys. It's a fantastic, as I say, Leatherface is one of the most iconic horror movie villains, you know, ever. You know, the way he just, you know, his very first appearance when he comes out and that, you know, and he hits the fella on the head with the hammer, pulls him in, and he slams that big iron door shut. And oh yeah, and the final girl, as I say, Madeline Burns, she's fantastic in this and that. She's very courageous in that, you know, the way she jumps out the windows and that, you know, because when I first watched that movie, I thought like, oh, is she going to get killed? Because you're at that ambiguity, you know. Horror movies by then had started to get really down and dirty, and bringing the horror away from the crumbling castles and the, you know, the old haunted residences and that, you know, of the Victorian era. They brought horror, just like Rosemary's Baby, just like The Exorcist. They brought horror into the real world, and this is one of them. This is one of the spearheads. This is what makes makes a horror movie frightening, all the more frightening when it's set in the real modern day world, you know, and this sort of thing, as I say, could happen, you know, because there has been weirdos over the years, like, you know, not only in the backwoods of America, but actually, well, everywhere, really, you know, yeah, this is the sort of thing could very well happen, you know, unfortunately, you know, getting lost and that, you know, in the wilderness and that, and encountering this, like, dysfunctional family, so that's what makes this movie terrifying, yeah. Okay then, guys, on to a rate now. Well, you know what I'm going to say, don't you? 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 for a horror masterpiece, because that's I regard this movie as a horror masterpiece. It's a fantastic horror movie from start to finish. No boring moments and that, you know, right from the start and that, you know, the fella getting into the van and that, you know, and using the knife, cutting their finger and that, you know, and of course when they encounter the Sawyer family in that house and that, the dinner table scene, the girl jumping out the window, all iconic scenes and that, you know, and where Leatherface is chasing and that, you know, and well, I won't go on about the ending just in case you haven't seen it, but a fantastic gripping ending as well. Yeah. So full 10 out of 10, guys, for this second sight release of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, an absolute horror classic. Okay, guys, have you got this edition by any chance? What did you think of it? Did you share my high opinion of it? Let me know in the comments down below. I know a lot of my fellow YouTubers have already got it. You know, mostly the box set and that. I need, you know, nothing but good things about it and that, you know. And now I'm adding my own voice, you know, to those rave reviews. Yeah. Okay then, guys, that winds my review up of the second sight standard edition release of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. All going well. I'll be back again very, very soon with another video. Take care. Have a nice weekend. Bye for now.